Much of the pro-Tesla media are reporting that Tesla has just taken the sword to their Chinese competition, decimating their sales in January. Is this actually true? Well, let's have a look at the facts. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting myself, my wife, my boys, our family. At the moment, it's been a pretty challenging time and you've all come together, and really, I'm so grateful. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, it's the GoFundMe campaign for my wife's stage 4 cancer that it costs about $11,000 a week for the cancer treatment she's going through. And essentially, the longer she can go through them, the more chance she has of potentially recovering. So thank you so much. Now, if you want to know a bit more about it, I'll put a link in the description below to the GoFundMe campaign. A few days ago, it was reported in China that BYD only registered 29,000 vehicles for the 2-week period from the 16th of Jan to the 29th of January, which was a huge drop. When I saw those numbers, I thought, well, they're just insurance registrations. Maybe that's not really relevant. Maybe it's not really all that important to BYD's sales. Then I went to sell my electric car, my BYD, to help fund the cancer treatments here in Australia, and it was actually surprisingly difficult to sell, which is weird. Especially considering I was selling it at one of the cheapest prices of any of them in Australia, and BYD raised their prices here in Australia, but that's another story. And then within the last few hours, we actually saw the electric vehicle delivery numbers for the month of January in China. And while I've got to say they're a bit of a shock, what does this all mean? Well, Tesla's price cuts in China have in fact had a direct effect on their competitors' sales. Those of Li Auto, NIO, and XPeng have declined by 60%. And even BYD is down significantly as well. Now, truthfully be told, if you were to simply read these kinds of reports from, say, Teslarati and others, who I obviously think do good work, well, here you would be wrong, because the truth is that January is the second worst month of the year in China. Basically, half the country goes on holidays. They don't buy a whole lot of cars. But still, there was a decline. It just wasn't anywhere near as big as what the pro fans would tell you. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a fan of Tesla, don't get me wrong. I totally understand if you are, but facts are facts. So what were the delivery figures? Well, NIO delivered 8,500 vehicles in January. Whilst that's a 46% drop from December 2022, it's actually a 12% decrease from January 2022. So a 12% decline, that's definitely relevant, but it's not 60%. Li Auto, 15,000 deliveries last month, 28.7% decrease from the month before, and 23.4% drop from January 2022. But to be fair, how is Li Auto even relevant? All they sell is plug-in hybrids. I don't think they're a direct competitor to Tesla at all, but that's my belief. Let me know if you agree or you disagree with that. XPeng had a dramatic decrease in sales, 54% decline versus December, but a huge 60% drop from last January. However, those figures are just not that relevant to this conversation. Why? Well, because XPeng had a terrible last few months of the year last year, and nobody knows really what's going on at that company. They fired the CEO. The government, Chinese government, basically installed a puppet CEO. It's a bit of a mess, and that didn't start in January this year. That started many months ago. I'm not really sure that we can simply say that was Tesla. However, Gao Shen, an analyst in Shanghai in China, said this: Tesla's huge discounts on Model 3s and Model Ys siphoned off drivers' buying interest in the Chinese-developed smart EVs. Overall demand for expensive EVs appears to be weak, which could lead to price wars in the premium EV segment this year. Now, if you're wondering what this is all about, what am I even talking about? Well, on the 6th of January, Tesla adjusted Model 3 and Model Y prices in China, or reduced them pretty significantly, after demand for their vehicles in China did decrease fairly significantly. It wasn't dire or anything like that, but definitely Tesla wanted to make more vehicles. They increased production, and therefore they wanted to increase sales. Best way to do that in a market like China, where there's immense competition, is, of course, to reduce the price. So that meant the 15th of January, the week following Tesla's price cuts in China, they got enormous sales. In fact, their sales apparently, according to the media, increased 76% to 12,654 for that week. The Chinese Merchant Bank said, but that's completely incorrect. From what I've heard, well, I believe it's completely incorrect. From what I've heard, Tesla actually sold 30,000 vehicles in that week, not 12,654. And the other thing worth looking at is BYD's deliveries. Now, for the month of January, BYD actually delivered some pretty good numbers, 151,000 vehicles versus last year, about 98,000 in the month of January. So it's a definite increase for BYD. Keep in mind as well, BYD have said for a while now they have more than 500,000 pre-orders in China alone. However, after Tesla's price cut, they did deliver a very small number of vehicles. According to insurance registrations, only 29,000 in the last 2 weeks of the month. So it's possible they delivered closer to, say, 50,000. Maybe we're missing some numbers from the insurance registration data, but it does appear to show that there was a significant drop-off in BYD's deliveries for those 2 weeks. Yes, of course, there is the Chinese New Year holiday. That would have decreased sales for BYD vehicles. But I still believe that there's a significant decline here, enough of a decline to actually say Tesla's discounts are definitely having some sort of impact on BYD. But to be fair, BYD sells a lot of different types of cars, definitely cars in segments where Tesla doesn't even compete. Obviously, they've got smaller cars, much more affordable cars. They've even got vans, they've got large SUVs. There's a whole range of different cars that BYD stocks. So I don't think these price cuts from Tesla will have a huge effect on BYD, but definitely they have had some. If we have a look at some of the competition, Nita, they sold 6,000 vehicles in January. That was a decrease of 23% from December. That's probably a pretty relevant, fair decrease, meaning seasonally adjusted, those sales numbers are pretty normal. What about Zeekr? Well, Zeekr's deliveries were down over 70% in January versus December. And the reason being the plant is halting production for 21 days to upgrade. So that's not really relevant either because they've closed the plant completely. So really until we start getting sales figures from other EV companies in China, I don't think Tesla's price cuts have had a huge impact on the Chinese EV market. Definitely a little bit of an impact, but not really anywhere near as big as what the media in general are reporting on. It's more Tesla sensationalism here. That's my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments. Thank you for watching.